Today on Investigate TV, risk of ignition, electric vehicles bursting into flames, destroying homes and sending families running for their lives.
The house is on fire.
Okay. It's very bad. It's very bad, actually.
Plus, people driving with their lights out, putting everyone around them in danger. And technology could be to blame.
Came in a flash.
No taillights and no brake lights.
Investigate TV starts right now. Hello and welcome to Investigate TV. I'm Lee Zurich. The EPA is working to cut emissions. By 2032, it wants 2/3 of new cars sold in the U.S. to be all electric. But some of these green cars come with a risk: battery-related fires. And while they are rare, recall repairs may take months, sometimes even years. Joce Sterman explains.
Flames shoot from the garage of a home in Virginia in May 2021 as firefighters rush to the scene.
Is everybody out?
The homeowner and his family watch in disbelief.
The house is on fire.
Okay. It's very bad. It's very bad, actually.
As neighbors flood 911 with calls and record the devastation unfolding on their phones.
There's a little fire in the garage. It's now out.
It was an ordeal. The family and fire officials say all began with an electric vehicle in the garage.
A smoke coming from the car and the car charging.
Spontaneous fires in electric vehicles, or EVs, are a rare but alarming scenario that's been reported across the country. As far back as 2020, documents we uncovered from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, show multiple car manufacturers have reported safety defects with their EV batteries that could spark a fire. And tens of thousands of cars have been recalled because of the risk of ignition in EVs that are charging or even after they've been unplugged. The problem even has some major airports banning specific cars from their parking lots.
The battery enters a state where it catches on fire. This can happen for a number of reasons, and sometimes they're even undetermined.
Michael Brooks with the Center for Auto Safety says the mystery of the battery's root problem is being investigated by the government. In the meantime, some EV owners are left with restrictions on how they can charge and where they can park, cars that can't go as far as designed, and fears about what could happen to the vehicle sitting under their roofs or just outside the door.
It's concerning because it's a different type of danger. You know, you're not in your car, you're in your house and you're asleep and your car catches fire and you have no way of knowing.
Our team discovered NHTSA records that show it's happened nationwide, with an Arizona man telling the agency he had to be treated for smoke inhalation after his charging EV unexpectedly caught fire in his garage. There's also a New Jersey owner who said that if the spontaneous EV fire that spread into his house had happened overnight, he and his wife could have died. And an unidentified person who supplied pictures from security cameras that show his car essentially exploded without warning in the driveway. Each of those incidents records show involved a Chevy Bolt. The company, which declined our interview requests, has recalled more than 100,000 cars for repair because of the battery fire defect. According to files examined by our national investigative team, Chevy was aware of at least 24 Bolt fires as of April 2022. The company's permanent fix? Replacing the batteries. But Brooks says supply chain issues extended wait times, leaving many drivers in limbo.
Everybody who has one of these cars, they just have to wait.
It's kind of the rule with NHTSA. It's tough luck. You know, the manufacturer issues a recall, and we see this all the time. Folks are having to sit for up to a year or more, many times, waiting for the repair. And people are basically being told, suck it up, we'll get there eventually. We hope you don't die or get injured in the meantime. And that's super disappointing.
Meantime, Chevy and the other companies impacted by the battery defect have taken steps to minimize risk. Bolt owners were originally told to limit charging, avoid running their batteries below 70 miles to empty, and to park outside immediately after charging and not leave the car indoors overnight. In December 2021, more than a year after the first of the Bolt recalls, Chevy came up with a software update to mitigate the threat, limiting the Bolt's charge to 80% and lifting those earlier restrictions for those who get it. But that's far from the final fix.
The bigger pain for all of the owners is having to park outside and basically upend their vehicle ownership pattern because of something they had nothing to do with. So it's certainly, more than disappointing. It's outrageous, and you can see why these owners are complaining to NHTSA.
Our team scoured NHTSA's public database, digging up complaints from at least 100 drivers of various EVs, specifically related to the battery defect. Many are angry, saying they can't charge or drive their cars as much as expected.
To have it just sitting out there and have to look at it every day, what's that like?
It's terrible. I've spent thousands of dollars on that car, and now I can barely even drive it, and it's just heartbreaking.
Jaden Avery got a Chevy Bolt with help from her mom, Stephanie, back in 2020. But her dream car mostly collected dust after they heard about the recall and the risk.
Charging it just made me super nervous inside the house.
That was like a real fear. You're going to sleep at night worrying about that?
I was scared, am I gonna wake up to a burning fire?
The Chevy software update alleviated some of the family's concern. But Stephanie says it created other problems that drivers nationwide have also told NHTSA about.
And it decreased the mileage that she could go quite a bit. So then it becomes this game every day. Okay, where am I going? How far can I go? Did I charge the car enough overnight?
The unpredictability means the car Jada was supposed to take to college in Nevada stayed home rather than making the 2,000-mile trip across the country. For a while, she barely drove it a few miles across town.
Like last night, I didn't know if I was actually going to make it home or if I was going to break down on the side. So I play out all of the situations in my head and really hope that I don't break down on the side of the road.
It's that kind of concern that's prompted a call for Chevy to compensate people who've been waiting months or even years for those long-promised replacement batteries. Some want buybacks, which Chevy tells us it's doing on a case-by-case basis.
When you get deprived of the benefit of your bargain, you don't get to use your car as intended, you're getting ripped off.
Philadelphia attorney Bob Silverman has already filed 50 claims against Chevy on behalf of EV owners in 16 states, including the neighbors.
And the biggest problem is there's no alternative transportation available. So there's no rental cars, there's nothing available, and they're really out in the cold.
Out in the cold over concerns about an electric vehicle that could bring the heat when you least expect it. Just like with that suspected EV fire in Virginia we mentioned before. When all was said and done, the damage to this $1 million home was so extensive, the family tells us they couldn't live in it for a year. Casualties of a rare car defect, where they paid the cost of ignition.
Now, the family in that story, the neighbors, they ended up settling with Chevy this past fall, getting rid of their Bolt altogether. The company would not tell our national team how many Bolt owners have gotten the software update or how many batteries it has replaced along the way. They did say replacements are ongoing, with customers contacted daily as they become eligible and as the company tries to move batteries to dealers as quickly as possible.
Thanks, Joce. Even with these fixes lagging, the White House is working to, quote, electrify the great American road. It's investing in EV charging stations and offering incentives to consumers. We look at some available tax credits after the break. Welcome back to Investigate TV. The Biden administration is offering incentives to get more eco-friendly cars on the road. A recent Gallup poll shows only 4% of Americans currently own an electric vehicle. More than 40% said they'd consider buying one in the future. The Inflation Reduction Act expands tax credits for some EVs, but it's a confusing process. Susan Campbell breaks it down for us.
For car buyers to qualify for the $7,500 tax credit, there are all kinds of requirements. For one, the car has to have undergone final assembly in North America. But there is a little loophole.
You want to buy a new EV. You've heard about a $7,500 tax credit. Well, that sounds good, but it doesn't apply to every EV on the road, and it doesn't apply to every car buyer.
The car needs to qualify. It needs to be manufactured in the States. Your household income needs to be taken into account, and the actual MSRP of the vehicle needs to qualify.
Jason Church is the chief operating officer of Courtesy Automotive Group. He says if you find an EV you love that doesn't qualify for tax credits, you still may be able to get that $7,500 savings thanks to a little loophole for a lease. According to the IRS, businesses can claim an unlimited number of commercial clean vehicle credits, which means leasing companies that get the tax credits can pass on the savings to their customers.
You're going to get a lower lease payment because the $7,500 will be applied. There's no restriction on where the vehicle is manufactured, no restriction on MSRP, and no restriction or qualification needed on your household income. The Polestar, for instance, the $7,500 vanished, poof. But then come January with the IRS clarification, we were able to apply that, so now we have lower lease payments on the Polestar too. Same with the Volvos, the C40s, the XC40s, as well as also plug-in hybrids as well.
If a used vehicle fits into your budget a little better, there's a tax credit of up to $4,000 for used EVs.
It's a credit that exists on paper but doesn't exist in reality. And the reason I can say this is that there's a $25,000 max on that. And unfortunately, with used car supply and demand being what it is, there is, to find an electric vehicle under $25,000 is very hard. Maybe in a year or two when we have more EVs coming back at a lower kind of book value, then we'll be able to actually access that.
In fact, according to AAA, right now EVs account for less than 1% of vehicles on the road. But as interest grows, so do car buyers' questions. So AAA just created a used EV buyer's guide.
One of the biggest things that people need to look out for is the battery life on an EV. It's a lot like your phone. It degrades over time.
It's easy to find out how much.
Ask the dealership to fully charge that EV and see what its maximum range is. And also look at the maximum range of a brand new car. And you can see the difference there, and you can find out how much that battery has degraded, if it's a lot or very little.
AAA says it's also important to check the EV's warranties. Manufacturers are required to offer an 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty on traction batteries, but not all warranties are passed on to future owners.
According to the IRS, several car makers, including Honda, Toyota, and Kia, have entered written agreements to become a qualified manufacturer so car buyers can get that tax credit. But those car makers haven't submitted a list of makes and models that will be eligible yet. I'm Susan Campbell.
To keep up with our latest investigations, follow us on social media. We're at InvestigateTV on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Coming up, allegations of tacking on extra fees, deceptive advertising for cars, particularly for people of color. We have a warning from the federal government about deceptive auto sales after the break. Welcome back to Investigate TV. Roughly 275 million vehicles are on the road, and every year, tens of thousands of Americans die in traffic accidents. About 50% of fatal crashes happen at night, even though there are 3 times as many cars out during the day. Brendan Keefe highlights one of the dangers of the dark.
When the sun goes down and the lights come up, the brightest objects compete for our attention. But the greatest danger is what's lurking in the shadows. Do you see it? Look closer. No headlights.
Driving in the wrong lane and without headlights. Sitting on the interstate with no headlights on.
Across the nation,
a vehicle with the headlights out.
The truck didn't have its headlights on.
Phantom vehicles are causing crashes and taking lives. Why are we seeing more phantom vehicles now?
It turns out the answer has been right under our noses this entire time. The modern instrument panel. It's always on, even when the headlights are off. Night or day, day or night. The gauge cluster and radio are always lit in car after car after car after car, manufactured in the last 10 years. Combined with the daytime running lamps, there are now multiple visual cues that the lights are on even though the headlights and taillights are dark. Before dashboards went digital, analog gauges stayed dark when the headlights were off. Not anymore.
Most of our vehicles have technology where the headlights are automatically on as a default when you start up the vehicle.
Frank Weissman is with Atlanta-based Porsche North America.
Headlights are on through the auto function. I can actively turn them off here, get the little message that I've done that, but as soon as I move off again, or above 6 miles an hour, headlights and taillights come back on.
So even if the driver turns the headlights off, they will come back on automatically while they're driving?
Correct. And then if you wanted to turn them off while you're driving, you can't. And I can't turn them off even if I wanted to.
Porsche now installs these headlights on every new vehicle that has an always-on dashboard. Is there ever a time where there are headlights on but there are no taillights on?
On these newer vehicles, no.
And now it's the law in Canada. All new cars sold since last fall must have taillights that come on with the daytime running lamps, or a dashboard that goes dark when the lights are off, or auto headlights on by default. Many new cars now sold in the U.S. were designed to meet the new Canadian standards. This is a new Ford. Turn the lights off, and the next time you start the car, the headlights default back to auto. New GMs have a spring switch, flipping back to auto when you restart the car.
So what we're getting the benefit of is essentially German engineering and Canadian regulation.
But the average car currently on our highways is more than 12 years old, which means we'll have to be on the lookout for phantom vehicles for another decade or so.
Here are the key takeaways. Set your headlights to auto if your car has that feature. Also, get to know your car's dashboard. Look on the instrument panel for that little headlight indicator. And finally, if someone's behind you flashing their high beams and you're not driving slowly in the passing lane, they could be trying to tell you that your lights are off.
Thanks, Brendan. On to the auto sales industry. Across the country, consumers report battling junk fees, false advertising, and discriminatory pricing. The Federal Trade Commission is targeting these crooked tactics. Carice Jackman has the details.
Deceptive advertising, junk fees, paying for unnecessary certifications. All tactics the Federal Trade Commission said it's seeing more and more in the auto sales industry.
We've certainly noticed a large number of instances of it happening.
It's why in the past year, FTC attorney Mark Glassman says the FTC took action against two companies, Passport Automotive Group and Napleton, a multi-state auto dealer. In the complaint against Passport, the FTC alleges the company regularly advertised certified, reconditioned, or inspected cars at specific prices. However, when the customer went to buy the car, Passport charged them extra hundreds to thousands of dollars in fees for inspections and certifications, essentially double charging the buyer.
One of the examples that we cited in one of the cases that the FTC brought was of a consumer who had purchased a used car that was advertised as a certified used car. And when he went to buy the car, he was told that he'd have to pay a fee for inspection and recertification. And those were things that were really already part of the certification process.
The complaint also alleged Passport charged Black and Latino consumers hundreds of dollars more in financing costs and fees on average than white consumers, violating the FTC Act and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. In the settlement with the FTC, Passport denied liability but agreed to pay $3.3 million, which will be used to refund customers. Passport also agreed to change its business practices. And in the case against Napleton, the FTC lawsuit alleged the company charged junk fees for unwanted add-ons onto customers' bills and also for allegedly discriminating against Black applicants by charging them more for financing. Napleton settled the lawsuit by denying liability but agreed to pay $10 million, which will be used to refund affected customers. In the wake of these cases, the FTC proposed a rule to ban junk fees and bait-and-switch advertising tactics.
What we're out there doing is trying to make sure that businesses, are conducting themselves in a non-deceptive way and in a way that accurately portrays the nature of the deals.
Glassman says there are a few things consumers can do to protect themselves. One, ask for a copy of every single document when discussing car payments and loans. Also, reach out to the car finance company directly if you have any questions or if you want to make adjustments to your payments.
They may be able to postpone a payment. Perhaps that payment will then be added on at the end of the loan term.
Glassman also says be wary if someone asks you to pay up front in return for renegotiating the terms of a loan.
That's an immediate sign that they should be concerned about fraud.
In a statement, Napleton said while they strongly denied any wrongdoing, they have resolved disputed claims made to the FTC last April. They added that they made this decision to avoid the disruption of an ongoing dispute with the government and, as a result, reluctantly determined it was in their best interest to resolve the matter.
Thanks, Carice. Up next, millions of dollars in unclaimed cash sitting in bank accounts across the country. Could any of it be yours? How to find out after the break. Welcome back to Investigate TV. Free money without a catch, and for some, just a few clicks away. We're talking about unclaimed property. About 1 in 7 people has it. In fiscal year 2022, more than $4 billion in unclaimed property was returned to its rightful owners. Could you be in for a payday? Rachel DePompa tells us how to find out.
Every year, millions of dollars go unclaimed, and some of it could be yours. It's usually money in the form of unclaimed wages, apartment deposits, overpayments, credit balances, even insurance refunds. Maybe you moved around a lot early in life, and then a company couldn't find you. Every state has a way for you to search for your unclaimed property, and there are a few national sites out there like unclaimed.org. It's run by the National Association of Unclaimed Property Administrators, and it has a helpful map where you can click states you've lived in and you instantly get redirected to that state's site for finding unclaimed property. In most cases, all you have to do is type in your name in the search bar to find out if you have any unclaimed money. Some sites even tell you how much money may be sitting there. There are a few other national sites that can help you, including missingmoney.com. And if you ever worked for the government or you did business with maybe the VA, you can also search a government site, usa.gov/unclaimed money. Each site gives you a step-by-step guide on how to make a claim for your money, but it could take a few weeks or months for you to get a hold of it.
Thanks, Rachel. If you're looking for more investigative reporting on demand, download our streaming apps on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And that's it for us. Thanks for joining us here on Investigate TV. Hope to see you next week.